So let's have a look at the second race of the day for the Formula 4 guys. The lights are already coming on the bridge. Martin and Melrose on the front row of the grid. Gronkowski starts from the back after the retirement in race number 1. Off they go down towards Duffus Dip for the first time of asking, and Seb Melrose tries to go round outside of Ross Martin, but not to be. Very close from these two young guys as they go in there. Ross takes a big hunk at the sausage curb there. He won't be happy with that. You've got to watch what you do with these Formula 4s. If you do hit things the wrong way, they can possibly bend little suspension components, such as the push rod, which controls the damper inside the car. There's Jordan Gronkowski. Look at him at the back of the pack, already making up manoeuvres. And again, another big hit off the sausage curve from Ross Martin. That's a 2-in-1 laps, not something we see the young man doing very often. Just waiting to get himself dialed into this one would imagine, as they come round towards the hairpin. We go back on board with Neil Broom, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is Matthew Chisholm. It's not a sight you want to see behind you. However, it might not be there for much longer. Neil Broom comes through the hairpin to end lap number 1. Jordan Gronkowski already cutting through the traffic as you would expect. 1 and 2 over the line, Martin and Melrose. Double M, we've seen these guys fighting so much over the past couple of years. Great to see them still here in 2018, enthralling the crowds here at Knockout Racing Circuit as they make their way down through the twisty complex. Turn 3, which is now McIntyre's. Down they go towards Butchers, and look at this, Neil Broom has the entire field behind him. Neil Broom is now a cork in a very fizzy bottle, and that bottle's getting fizzier and fizzier behind him. He's going to have to get a wriggle on here, otherwise he's going to have several black cars, a red one and a white one coming past him if he doesn't watch. However, Neil did drive extremely well in race number 1. We know he's got the pace, so let's see if he can just hold this together. Very, very hard part of racing when you've got so many fast cars behind you. The tendency is to try and defend too early. If you defend too early, you start slowing yourself down. Neil Broom knows how to drive this car around Knockout Racing Circuit. They're turned in nice and smoothly. Look at his hands on the wheel. Nice gentle movements, not overdriving the wheel, not forcing the car too much. However, he's going to have to do whatever he's doing that a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, a little bit sooner, because here comes the charge behind them. First of all, it's Matthew Chisholm. Then I believe it was Gary Sykes and Steve Barlow, fresh from a fabulous race number 1. Steve Barlow must be brimming with confidence as they all make their way down through McIntyre's. Let's see if there's a little check in the mirrors from Neil Broom. Doesn't look like it. Only eyes up the road, which you want to do. Over the rise curb there. Lands it. Yeah, doing good job actually, Neil Broom. Doesn't get too flustered behind them, and Jordan Gronkowski meanwhile sides his way through this pack. So the white car we should expect to see coming past Gary Sykes in a minute or two, and then it'll be Matthew Chisholm, then it'll be Neil Broom. Has Jordan Gronkowski got the pace? Has he got a car under them which will last the distance? That's what we do hope. We can see him in the background popping out from Gary Sykes here later on the brakes, up the inside. Gary Sykes has got no answer for that, and Steve Barlow thinks, hang on, I could be doing that as well, as they make their way up the main straight now. The leaders are already gone and checked out. They're away at the first corner area now. Matthew Chisholm under big pressure from Jordan Gronkowski. Be interested to find out from Jordan exactly what went wrong in race 1. He looks up the inside of the McIntyres. It's a brave manoeuvre and he does it. Good move, Jordan Gronkowski. He is not hanging about here. As soon as there's an overtaking opportunity and a chance, he is through. Next on his radar, bang, Neil Broom. What has Neil got in the locker for this man coming up behind him? Look at Jordan Gronkowski homing in. He looks like an absolute man possessed in that number 33 car as they head round towards the hairpin. Good slipstream from Neil Broom here, but he looks a little bit far back to challenge on the brakes this lap. Let's see what Jordan does. Follows Neil right in, gets a good turn. And look how close he homes in on the brakes there. And a little bit slow mid-corner for Jordan Gronkowski there, actually. That didn't look too great for him there. Maybe just backed up a little bit. You can see there's a gap. It looks like there's something possibly going on with the Gronkowski car here. As behind them, Chisholm fans out and Gary Sykes fans out. It's getting very close in towards Duffus here. Sykes tries to go around the outside of Chisholm. Not to be. Chisholm doesn't let that happen. And that's let Jordan Gronkowski off the hook there. I'm just wondering if Jordan maybe missed a gear mid-hairpin. If he wasn't in the gear on the way in, who knows. But it definitely caused a bit of a bottleneck behind him. And it's let him off the hook, if anything, now. And it's letting him really focus on this man who we go on board with. Neil Broom catches the car in a little bit of a slide over the apex of Clark there. Little look in the mirrors on the left there. That's just, there he goes, having another long look in the mirror there. Because he knows Jordan Gronkowski is incoming as the two leaders make their way up the main straight. Now, Ross Martin, yeah, he's definitely starting to put some ground into Seb Melrose. Seb's going to have to keep this one real. He's going to have to try as hard as he can, and Neil Broom is now defending from Jordan Gronkowski. He's going to make Gronkowski try and go the long way around him. It's a brave move, Jordan Gronkowski. Wow, look at that, Steve Barlow-esque, over the top of Duffus, round the outside. Sensational driving from Jordan Gronkowski. I don't think Neil Broom was expecting that. That was a manoeuvre and a half from Jordan, and that will just keep the confidence absolutely up there, pinned and absolutely fizzing as he makes his way up the back straight. Chisholm has now just seen that happen in front of him, probably can't quite believe his eyes, but now knows there is a way past Neil Broom at the top of Duffus Dip, turn number 1. Gary Sykes has got Steve Barlow issues again, like he had in race number 1, and also Fraser Gray's holding his own and staying on the black stuff so far in this race number 2. But Neil Broom, he will be wondering just exactly what happened here at Duffus Dip, but that was a power move from Jordan Gronkowski to get himself around the outside like that. And look at the gap he's now opened up between himself and Broom. Chisholm, there you go, goes past him as well. Barlow's now on an overlap. Steve Barlow's getting shown the grass. Good grief, that's not a place where you want to squeeze somebody on the grass. Steve Barlow wisely rolls out the throttle a little bit before he rolls out of the race along the side of the track as they go down towards McIntyre's. Again, kissing the apex curb on the inside, making their way down. But look at this, Neil Broom already. See how high the wheel was off the ground there. See how high Neil Broom's wheel come off the ground as he hit the curb on the inside. Then the second part shows you just how stiff a proper race car is. And Neil is absolutely trying for all he's worth here. He's had a podium in the first race. He would love a podium in the second race. Unfortunately, he's just off it just now in 4th. Down the gears at the hairpin, gets the car turned in. Chisholm is the next man behind him, but look at these two behind him. We've got Steve Barlow trying to go around the outside of Sykes. Fraser Gray's in there, and also James Clark in the McGall hanging in as well as they make their way up the main straight. So let's restock, let's take this on board. Jordan Gronkowski isn't pulling away from Neil Broom as quickly as I thought he would as he makes his way through McIntyre's now, even though Neil Broom has got what we would call as Chisholm problems as he comes down through Butchers now and over the crest of that Arnold Clark chicane. Matt Chisholm needs to get past Neil Broom. He looks like he has the speed in that car, but Neil is just on a kind of equal pace with him. If Chisholm can get past, he will probably break free and secure that 4th position, and who knows, could he even latch onto the back of Jordan Gronkowski and catch up with him as they come in towards Apin. Great camera views, I've got to say, this is absolutely special. It's nice and secure, it's giving us a great look at Chisholm. Look at him rolling right in on the brakes here, tries to get on the gas, and he needs a slipstream here. The only thing is, guaranteed if he does get a slipstream, Neil Broom will defend up the main straight, as he is perfectly entitled to do. As we catch back up with your leaders, that's really all we're seeing of the leaders. There goes Ross Martin at the bottom of your screen, and there goes Seb Melrose, because this is where the battle's coming. Jordan Gronkowski goes through, then we catch up with Broom and Chisholm, and we're going to follow these guys through Leslie's in towards McIntyre's now, under the nose of the marshals there, as they run down this steep downhill bit through Butchers. Big compression in the car, springs back up over the crest hill. The car comes through there. Both cars look pretty planted, and drivers driving them very, very well. Chilly conditions we may add, which is good for the engines, but not great for the spectators at the side of the track. It is only round 1, don't worry, it'll be a lot warmer when you come back for round number 2 in May. The retirement there, as we see just off the side of the track, something getting pushed away. That looked like Ross Howe, which is a bit of a shame for him, as Van Diemen has cried enough. Let's hope that's the only Van Diemen fail, because we're looking at one right now. That's a Van Diemen of Matthew Chisholm, and we also know that Jordan Gronkowski has a Van Diemen, and that broke down in race number 1, didn't it? So not a great day for the Van Diemens thus far, but there's plenty of time to go. Broom defended all the way in towards Duffus Dip there, and really didn't need to, and that's left him a little bit slack there. Chisholm's going to not go around it, so he's going to try and get a cut back on him if he can. However, we're going to look back and see where Steve Barlow has got to with his Gary Sykes battle. The answer to that is not where he will want to be, as Fraser Gray goes through with James Clark over the crest of the hill there. Ross Howe in pit lane, telling his mechanics exactly what has gone wrong with that car as the two leaders string past for another lap here as we go back towards the hairpin, and it's a big attack again from Matthew Chisholm. This is starting to get a little bit fraught, a little bit restless. Matthew Chisholm is running out of patience for Neil Broom. We don't like that. Matthew Chisholm doesn't like that. He'll be wanting to get right back onto the back and try and get past as much as he possibly can as he come in towards Duffus Dip here. We've seen two guys, Steve Barlow and Jordan Gronkowski, go around the outside of this today, and wow, the manoeuvres those guys made were absolutely sensational. Not to be this time though. Chisholm right underneath the gearbox as they go through McIntyre's there, And still Gary Sykes holds off Steve Barlow. This is a very, very impressive drive from Gary Sykes. As we pick back up now with this man coming up the main straight. That is Ross Martin as he makes his way up past the start finish line, past his pit crew, and so does Sebastian Melrose underneath the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. Again, Seb's putting in some fabulous lap times as I look at the computer here. However, he's just not quick enough to stay with Ross Martin. Not over a full race distance, that's for sure. Let's see how this one unfolds though, as Ross Martin now looks like he's just starting to pull away, if anything, and make his way up the back straight towards Clark Corner. Back on board with Neil Broom. Turns in, gets a good turn in there, nice and neat, nice and tidy. Ever increasing pressure from Matthew Chisholm is behind him though. See the air again under the wheel there as he goes over the crest of that Arnold Clark chicane. But the number 1 plate leaves the hairpin, and he'll be coming up. He will be delighted. It's been a brilliant day for Ross Martin. He takes 2 checkered flags, 2 race victories, starts from pole. It's been a fabulous day for him. Seb Melrose comes home with a good 2nd place. Jordan Gronkowski does make up onto the podium for a good 3rd place after a disastrous race 1 DNF with a mechanical issue. And Neil Broom, a 3rd place and a 4th place. He holds off the hard-charging Matthew Chisholm. And then we see, does Gary Sykes manage to keep at bay Steve Barlow? Yes, but only just as Steve Barlow tried to come back at the end there. Classic Formula Ford racing here at Knockhill Racing Circuit. Ross Martin is the man of the day. A lovely, lovely double for him to take away after round number 1.